Have you ever done this? You pour your heart and soul into a Flutter app. It works perfectly, there are no bugs, but when you step back, it just feels, well, a little cheap. It's a super common frustration, but today we are going to solve that mystery. We're going to break down exactly what separates a good app from a truly premium one.
This is the question that keeps developers up at night, right? Your code is solid, the logic is flawless, but the final product still feels like it's missing something, that polish. The good news? The answer is almost never where you think it is.
And here's the big secret. The problem isn't some deep flaw in your code or a limitation in Flutter, not at all. It's actually a collection of really small, easily fixable details that, when you add them all up, make a huge difference in how people perceive the quality of your app. So, let's start uncovering them.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with the invisible framework of your app, things like space and structure. Then, we'll dive into the world of color and text and see how to use them to guide the user's eye. After that, we'll get into the magic of widgets and animation, the stuff that brings your app to life. And finally, we'll tie it all together with what I call the premium app mindset, which might just change how you build apps forever.
First up, foundations. You can think of this like the foundation of a house. You never really notice it when it's solid and well built, right? But you definitely notice when it's shaky. These are those core layout elements that users feel instantly, even if they can't quite tell you why.
I'll never forget this one app I used where the spacing was just all over the place. It felt like walking into a room where every picture on the wall was crooked. I couldn't tell you exactly what was wrong, but I just knew something felt off. And that's what inconsistent spacing does. It creates this subconscious feeling of chaos. A consistent layout, on the other hand, just feels calm, professional, and intentional.
And let's be real, a premium experience has to work everywhere. An app that looks amazing on your phone but completely breaks on a tablet isn't a premium app, it's an unfinished one. That's why responsive design is so important. It's not just some buzzword to throw around, it's absolutely essential for creating an app that feels polished no matter what device you're on.
Okay, now that we've got a solid foundation, let's talk about the fun stuff, the visuals. This is where you can really make your app shine, using color and typography to create an experience that's not just beautiful, but also super intuitive.
So we have to talk about visual hierarchy. Just imagine you open a news app. What's the first thing you should see? The headline, right? Then maybe the subheadings and then the body text. That's visual hierarchy in action. It's all about arranging things on the screen so the user's eye naturally goes to the most important information first.
I mean, just look at the difference here. The one on the left, it's a total mess. Your eye just jumps all over the place. But the one on the right, it's a masterpiece of clarity. And it's all because of disciplined typography. Limiting your font styles doesn't make your app boring. Trust me, it makes it look professional.
I remember trying an app once that used pretty much every color of the rainbow. It was so overwhelming, so visually loud, that I couldn't even focus on the text. And that's why having a limited, consistent color palette is so critical. It creates a sense of harmony and makes sure your app is actually pleasant to look at, not painful.
All right, so we've talked about the science of app design. Now, let's talk about the art. This is where we get into the magic of how an app actually feels, that interactive experience that really separates the good apps from the truly great ones.
It's so easy to fall into this trap of just using the default widgets out of the box. They work, they're simple, but they also make your app look like every other basic app out there. But with just a little bit of creativity, you can transform those standard widgets into something that feels really special and unique to your app.
Think about it like this. You're not just building an app, you're building a brand. And every single detail, from the color of your buttons to the shape of your cards, should reflect that brand. So when you take a default widget and apply your own unique colors, shapes, and a little touch of animation, you're not just making a button, you're reinforcing your app's entire identity.
I used an app once that had 0 animations. Tapping a button felt like nothing. For a split second, you weren't sure if it even registered. It honestly felt like using a phone from the 90s. And that's the whole thing about animations. They aren't just for show. They give you feedback, they create a sense of life and energy, and they make your app feel responsive and modern.
So this brings us to the final and I think most important piece of the puzzle, the premium app mindset. It's about realizing that the fix for a cheap-feeling app isn't about writing more code or working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about paying careful, deliberate attention to all those small details.
So here it is. This is your secret weapon. This is your roadmap to building apps that don't just work well, but that people genuinely love to use. Before your next release, just run through this checklist. This is how you take your app from being just functional to being truly fantastic.
And let's end on that thought. A premium feel isn't born from complexity, it's born from craftsmanship. It comes from caring about every single pixel, every transition, and every interaction. So go out there and build something beautiful.